right, guys, welcome to Stay Creative, the show that encourages positive people to stay creative during this crazy quarantine time. All right, are we ready for our next guest? Joe Hoyt, our next guest, is a drama teacher, a drama coach, and here he is. Without further ado, he can tell us even more about what he's doing to stay creative. How are you?
I'm doing well, Alex. How you doing, man?
Good, good. So tell us what you're doing during this. Yeah, I know it's been a long time, but I want to know what you're doing now to stay creative during this crazy quarantine time.
Yeah,
what you got?
this is crazy. One of the big things that we're kind of focused on right now, and I say we, my wife and I, both of our children are professional actors in the Chicagoland area, represented by great talent, and they do auditions for film, television, stage. So it's been pretty crazy for us because similar to what you're kind of doing right now, we've been sort of thrown into as well, which is, self-taping at home. So we've been really working on trying to find creative ways to coach our kids to get them ready for these auditions for whatever they're kind of thrown our way, and setting up little mini studios in our house, and really just trying to work the different angles that we can to make it look as professional as we can to make the kids stand out. So when we send these tapes in, it looks as good as what it does when they would go to the agency and tape there. So that's been one of the big focuses for us, is doing a lot of coaching, teaching our kids a lot of acting technique, really getting them to sort of delve in a little bit more into those elements of acting rather than, just kind of going and doing. So a lot of the coaching and the studio setups has really been the focus for our most recent history.
So what did you do before the coronavirus, and how did it affect you, like when it all of a sudden hit full force?
Yeah, that's a grethis question. So as an educator, I run a drama program at Joliet Central High School, and this is finishing my 10th year of teaching, in addition to the acting and things that I do outside of school. But what was crazy is a couple things. One, my wife and I were ready to audition for a production together. We don't often get to do shows together. We actually just did a production of Newsies, where all four of us were in the musical together. That was the first time the four of us had acted together: my son, my daughter, my wife, and I. We then did Mary Page Marlowe together, which was unexpected. I actually was called in to fill for an actor that had to leave the production. So it was easy to do since my family was already in it. But we were going to be auditioning for a production of Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. And obviously the entire season for that theater was canceled. So that kind of threw things into a loop, because we had really planned a lot of our life around that prospect of my wife and I being at rehearsals, and how that was going to affect, what we did with the kids and so forth. But then educationally, it was big. I had to go from having my drama kids in person every day to be able to do projects and activities with them very hands-on, to having to create an entire remote system where everything I was doing was being done online. And how do I create activities and projects for my drama kids that keeps them engaged, keeps them learning, without being there in person with them? Because theater is an in-person activity. It's something that being there with people directly is so important. So that became a huge challenge that I had to face from all the way through March, April, and May.
Tell me a little bit about this remote system. What was it all about? Like, what would it entail?
Yeah, so some of the things that I had to do was, the first thing I had to do was come up with ideas for what kind of projects can these kids do without me being in there with them. So an example would be the final project that they did. So what we did with the final project which was unlike anything I'd ever done before. This was never the intention of ending the year for my advanced drama kids. They had to create a radio play. And the focus for that was focusing on vocal characterization. So almost kind of like anything that someone would do in voiceovers. So we connected them to some links and some connections of some professionals that created some videos online that allowed them to sort of get an idea of what vocal characterization is. Then they had to create some characters. Then they had to create the vocal qualities for those characters. Then they had to create a story. Then they had to create a script. And then they had to record themselves utilizing their vocal characterizations, where they had to play all of the characters in their piece, and then integrating sound effects. So it was almost kind of like going to old school radio show. And it was just trying to be creative with things like that, things that would make them feel like they were performing, things that they would be capable of doing at home with basic computer programming and editing, and then having them create these final projects.
I might have a project for you guys. Have you guys record one of our books that we wrote here with different voices?
I'm always looking for cool things to do with my kids that is just really out of the box. And one of the things I really thrive in and that I love so much is when I have, people ask me like, what are you doing and where are you getting your resources and things like that, so that I can share all this cool, fun stuff that I come up with. I just try to be as original as I can with the stuff that I present to kids. And, one of the, in staying creative, I always try to find unique ways to hook the kids into the projects that we're doing that are really outside of the box, and to make it as memorable for the kids as I possibly can. So that's a big thing for me in education, for sure.
So I've heard a lot of great stuff about your daughter. Can you elaborate on some of the projects she's been working on? Because I know she's pretty damn famous.
We've been very lucky. We've joked, my wife and I. My wife did acting since she was about, I think 6 or 7. She started professionally. She was on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. So she's had some TV time. I started acting professionally when I was in college, primarily stage. Did a couple short films. But for me, mostly it was stage acting. My daughter, God bless her, is 12 years old. And probably since the age of 8, when I first saw her do a show, I turned to my wife and I said, that girl is more talented right now than I was when I was in college. And now at 12, it's even more so. She's been blessed, like her mother, with an incredibly powerful, beautiful voice. She adapts to dancing with a snap of a finger, and her acting, her instincts it's what we always say when it comes to acting. There are certain things you cannot teach. She has those things you cannot teach. So she's been very lucky. She did a professional production of Fun Home. It was the Chicago premiere of the Tony Award-winning musical. She worked with Gary Griffin, who was a Broadway director, and that show was incredibly successful, even to the point that just recently they streamed it, and it was watched in all 50 states and in over 21 countries. So she did a McDonald's commercial. She's done some really incredible movie auditions and TV shows where she's gotten really close. My son is the same. My 9-year-old son, Cooper, is developing his skills, and he was in the final cut to get onto a TV show. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but he was super close. It was very exciting as we were all sitting around waiting for final word. But we feel really good that that the kids love it, they enjoy it, and we're hopeful that they each of them gets to experience that little sort of mini breakthrough to be able to see themselves on TV and just have that joy. And that's something I've never had. So that would be something that'd be really special for them. But it's really fun watching both of them grow and develop and develop this love. We'd be the first parents to say we would never push our kids into doing something that they don't enjoy doing. Fortunately, they love theater, but we also are really excited about the fact that neither of them talk about doing that for the rest of their lives. My daughter wants to be a vet. My son wants to be a doctor. So we're going to keep promoting those professions for them and allow them to say this is the time to enjoy and be free with theater and not worry about having to make a livelihood from it. So
I love it how a lot of actors say that. They're like, oh, my kid wants to be an actor, but I'm so glad they also want to be this, just in case.
Yeah. Well,
so kind of the trials and tribulations, right?
Yeah. You know this too. You know the grind. You know how tough it is, how heartbreaking it is that the industry, when you're doing it professionally, what is it, 80% or so is rejection. So some even higher. And it's hard, it's tough, and you got to be so thick-skinned, and you've got to be so aggressive. And I tell my students at school all the time, I've had a couple students come through in the last few years, incredibly talented, went to incredible schools, Illinois Wesleyan. I had a girl, Zaria Butler, just graduated from Ball State, incredibly talented. But I've always said to these kids when they talk to me about their college plans, I say to them, can you imagine yourself doing anything else? And if even for 1 second something pops into your mind, this grind probably isn't for you. And it's a harsh thing, and it's a terrible and heartbreaking thing to say to kids sometimes. But I really believe that. I really believe that if 100% of you, and you can't imagine yourself doing anything else, theater is probably something that shouldn't be the pursuit. Film shouldn't be the pursuit. You've got to have that 100% committed drive, and you just have to know that every part of your heart is telling you that this is what you should be doing.
You are definitely a mentor to many, and I want to know if there's any sort of inspirational advice you can give people out there who are trying to be creative.
I just say you gotta follow your heart. You need to be passionate, follow your heart, and believe in yourself. That's the best advice that I give to any one of my students, even to my own children, that the minute that your heart's not in it, it's time to move on to something else. So if you've got the heart, you've got the passion, go for it, because it's something that you're going to feel satisfied by doing regardless of the outcome.
That's some great advice, my friend. Dang, lots of change since you and I first knew each other. You're
know,
like
right?
An adult now. I can't believe it. This is crazy.
It changes you, man. It changes you.
Oh my gosh. Like we used to have meetings in my car and write a script for hours because we couldn't find a coffee shop or a parking spot in Chicago. And now you've got this like really great basement. I got this crazy studio. You got kids banging on the doors, everything.
It's the craziest. But
very funny.
We're blessed. We're blessed. It's life is good. Life is good, even in the midst of something as crazy as this. So,
all right, my friend, thank you so much. I want to find out where we can find you online.
Yes, I'm on a lot of the social media platforms. So on Twitter, I'm Hoyt Teach Drama at Twitter. And I try to post and keep stuff updated for the stuff that I'm doing from school, as well as the personal life, as well as what my kids and my wife are doing. And then on Instagram, same thing, Hoyt Teach Drama. I just try to keep it as simple as I possibly can. And I also have a webpage for my high school drama department, JolietCentralDrama.org, which I do it all on my own. I promote the website. I upkeep the website. I do all the updates. So it's a little personal passion of mine, but it's an opportunity for me to kind of promote not only what the kids are doing now, but what my former students have done and are doing right now. So
for all of you that are interested in being creative, feel free to join us on spygamestudios.com, where we can teach you how to make your own TV show, how to market it, how to distribute it. And we can even have our buddy here, Hoyt, maybe help you with some of the acting. Who knows? That's down the road. What do you say?
Absolutely. Alex, when it comes to partnership with you, man, I'm game. I'm always game. You know that.
Oh man, that makes my heart sing. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our show. And definitely you are a mentor to many. And we look forward to seeing all the great projects that you and your family are up to down the road. So thank you again.
It's been a pleasure, Alex. Good seeing you again, man.
All right. Bye.
Hey, take care.